As I was planning my late March and April, I thought it was going to be a rather dull and boring time, as not too many big name titles were going to be released. So luckily, indie developer Coffee Stain Studios contacted me and asked me to check out their latest title, Sanctum, releasing for the PC on Steam on April 15th for about $15. Combining elements of tower defense and first-person shooting, Sanctum actually provided me a great amount of strategic and intense entertainment for the past few days. In Sanctum, you play Skye, a soldier sent to protect her hometown, Elysian 1, from invading alien creatures. The game's 3 maps, Mine, Bridge, and Arc, each with 20, 25, and 30 waves of enemies respectively, all present the same objective, to defend the core. Each monster that you let slip into the core will deplete some of its non-rechargeable health until it reaches 0 and explodes. The maps each have a unique layout and multiple monster spawning locations, which means there will be many different paths that you'll have to defend. As such, I found creating a choke and funneling them all to a single location was the best strategy. Mine, Bridge, and Arc all are beautiful, each with a unique look and feel to them. The game runs on the Unreal Engine 3, and to me gave off a strong Portal vibe. While there isn't any voice acting, story, or cutscenes, the soothing music is wonderful and really complements the aesthetics of the game. There are many different ways to solve each puzzle. Some paths can bring monsters up and over bridges, and others lead them to areas where you can't build any defenses at all. There are a ton of different types of aliens that you'll encounter, traversing both the ground and the air. Each enemy has their own strengths and weaknesses that must be exploited differently to prevent them from reaching the core. The enemy's varied health and speed ensure that you'll constantly consult the game's encyclopedia to ensure you know how to handle each encounter, especially if they have a unique special ability. Skye is armed with an assault rifle, sniper rifle, and freeze ray that all have alternate firing modes. Each weapon has a cooldown period if used too quickly, so swapping between them often is beneficial. Upon completing a wave, you'll be rewarded with a form of currency that may be spent upgrading your weapons and building your defenses. What's neat about this tower defense game is that you actually construct your own mazes. By switching to an overhead view, you can strategically plan your layout, get a quick glance at enemy locations, and instantly transport to various locations that you've designated. The first thing you've got to do is plan your layout by purchasing blocks to guide the enemies through your labyrinth. Once a block is placed, you may then place defensive towers on them, including towers that shoot the air, ground, or both. Each tower has a different rate of fire, damage, and range, which will require you to spend a great deal of time selecting where to place them. Resources may also be spent upgrading each tower to allow it to do more damage and be more effective. You can also build special towers called televators that allow you to go from the ground to the top of the blocks and to instantly teleport around the map. There are 2 phases per round, the build phase and the monster phase. It's important to note that you have to plan carefully in the build phase, as you're not allowed to build additional towers or blocks while the monsters are on the prowl. Completing the game's 3 stages by myself took me a little over 4 hours on the normal difficulty setting and didn't offer that much of a challenge. Stepping it up to hard significantly increased the difficulty to the point where it took me another 4 hours even to get past the 3rd wave on the Arc map. This essentially means that if you want to master hard and insane difficulties, you're going to spend some good time learning the best maze layouts and most efficient use of towers to counter the units per wave. Once you feel you've got a good feel for the game mechanics, you can take the challenge online and add a second player to your game. Initially, this was pretty finicky as you have to spend some time opening the proper ports to allow your friends to connect to your game, but once you get it figured out, it's not much of a problem. In 2-player mode, each player has their own resources that they start with and earned after each round, and each player may build blocks, towers, and upgrade their weapons. I found the co-op to be significantly more challenging on both the casual and hardcore modes. I played for a little over an hour with Spiderbite from Next Gen Tactics, and we had an absolute blast together.
Might suck. We might suck, I don't know.
Well, I know I will.
The developers over at Coffee Stain Studios also assure me that they're working on 4-player co-op, additional maps, weapons, and towers that players will be able to download in the near future, some of which will also be free. Initially, I found the title to be a bit buggy as the intro animation wasn't playing for me, and my game was crashing here and there, especially every time I alt-tabbed out. Luckily, over the course of the week, my client was automatically patched a few times, and those bugs appear to have been resolved. Overall, I found Sanctum to be a wonderful game, but then again, I've always really enjoyed tower defense games. I like that I was able to construct my own maze, and that it had a drastic effect on the way the waves of enemies reacted to the course. This alone led to a ton of different strategies, but when combined with the different enemy units, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, and each of their counters with the towers and weapons, and you've got a lot of time on your hands if you want to master this game. If you're into tower defense games and are looking for a serious challenge that should occupy a lot of your time for a low cost, this is probably a title you should check out. If you're interested in supporting the show, check out my sponsor Netflix at netflix.com/ZGR for a free trial membership in the US and Canada. Check out the full write-up and screenshots over at ZeitgeistGameReview.com. Stay up to date by following me on Twitter and Facebook, and make sure to check out all of the other great gaming entertainment on the Game Station. Don't forget to subscribe and press the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching.